Snow fell like a hush across the settlement, drifting through the quiet morning, as if the earth wished to speak more softly than usual. Horses stood near the hitching posts, steam rising from their nostrils and swirling like ghostly ribbons. Lanterns glowed inside every cabin window, and the wood smoke curling into the winter air carried a fragrance of pine, cold iron, and long memories. The world felt slower when December arrived, as though every breath, every hoof-step, every distant fiddle note carried more meaning than in summer's haste. Inside a modest cabin at the edge of the settlement, Anna Mae Sullivan sat near a frosted window in her wheeled chair, watching snowflakes etch silver patterns against the glass. Though she was only 26, her face held a stillness older than her years. She had grown used to seeing the world from a seated height, and life had woven patience into her. She wrote letters she never sent, small reflections to no one and everyone, promising herself that words could still travel even if she could not. The accident had come 3 winters earlier, when a runaway wagon struck the horse she rode. She survived, though she could no longer walk. Her family and neighbors had been kind, but kindness sometimes behaved like a cage. They spoke gently, moved furniture quietly, and told her she was brave even on days when she only wished to feel ordinary. She missed the sight of a horse's mane whipping against open sky, missed the sound of boots on dance hall floors, missed the simple steadiness of belonging. She had never considered herself fragile, but many treated her as though a single gust might carry her away. Pity, she learned, was often heavier than an empty sky. She did not invite bitterness, yet she felt the way the world measured her differently now. She had dreams once of marriage, laughter, a home filled with morning coffee and evening candlelight. Those dreams had dimmed, not from despair but resignation. People whispered that men rarely married girls who rolled instead of walked. She did not blame them for their whispers, only wished they would keep them far from Christmas nights. She was not without admirers in seasons past. Elias Turner, a handsome settler with a charming voice, had once courted her lightly before the accident. He admired her singing and the calm she carried, yet when her legs ceased to serve her, he stepped back like a man reaching the edge of a cold pond. He told himself he needed a wife who could host gatherings gracefully, who could ride to the canyon, who could be admired by others without endless explanation. His absence had hurt less than the quiet truth beneath it. He valued appearances more than tenderness. Anna rarely spoke of this memory. She bore no anger toward Elias, only a quiet understanding that some hearts had narrow rooms and narrow windows. She would not try to reshape those rooms. She preferred the company of a fire and her thoughts, where she could feel whole without permission. Beyond the settlement stood the silent woods, dark with evergreens and thick with drifting snow. There lived an Apache man named Tala Red Hawk. He was tall enough to make doorway beams tremble, and strong enough to lift whole logs without strain. He often worked bare-chested in the cold, as though winter respected him too much to bite. Settlers knew little of him, only that he chopped wood, traded furs, and rarely spoke unless necessity required it. Some feared him instinctively, not because of harm done, but because unfamiliarity shades itself as danger. Anna watched him from her window sometimes, fascinated not by his size but by the stillness around him. He moved with the solemn grace of a man who carried history beneath his breath. She sensed loneliness in him, though he walked with the steadiness of a mountain. She wondered if solitude weighed differently on someone so large, someone who could lift timber, yet have no one to rest his voice against at night. Small talk exhausted Anna. Long conversations about crops, weather and ribbons meant less to her than a moment of genuine noticing. When she watched Tala stack wood for townsfolk, she saw a man who worked not for charity but fairness, a man who accepted coins without pride or shame. He never leaned near anyone who feared him, never pressed himself where he was unwelcome. Anna respected that kind of restraint, for she knew what it was to occupy spaces where others felt uneasy. Christmas drew closer, and each day the settlement grew busier with preparations. Mrs. Callahan, a widow with bright eyes and quick opinions, visited Anna and insisted she attend the annual Christmas supper at the hall. Anna hesitated, not from dislike of gatherings, but from the quiet ache of appearing fragile in public. People stared at her wheels more than her face. They offered help before she asked, though she preferred to move at her own rhythm. Mrs. Callahan patted her hand warmly, and told her Christmas needed souls like hers. Anna agreed to come, though she prayed for a crowded room so she could disappear into laughter. She dressed in a simple navy wool dress on Christmas Eve, braided her hair, and wrapped a cream shawl around her shoulders. She allowed herself a moment of pride, not for beauty, but for returning to the world despite the softness of her limits. As the wagon carried her toward the town hall, she felt a stirring she had not known in years. The air smelled like pine and cinnamon, lantern light shimmered through the swirling snow, and the distant fiddle sounded like an old memory learning to breathe again. Anna did not expect romance or miracles. She only hoped for company that felt gentle rather than charitable. As she reached the hall, the air shifted strangely, as though destiny waited just beyond the lantern light, whispering her name in silence. The town hall glowed like a lantern in the white evening, its windows shining with warm gold against the quiet snow. Pine boughs hung above the doorway, tied with faded ribbons from past winter celebrations, carrying the soft scent of resin and memory. Anna May Sullivan arrived in her chair as Mrs. Callahan guided her inside, the wheels whispering against wooden floorboards. Fiddle music fluttered near the hearth, and voices mingled like a rising cloud of comfort. Children chased each other near the long tables, leaving trails of laughter behind them. Boots stomped off flakes of snow, and every breath seemed fuller, brighter, more forgiving than an ordinary winter night. Anna admired the decorations before greeting anyone. Candles flickered on every table, casting a mellow dance of light against tin plates and polished mugs. The room was full but not overwhelming, and she sensed an ease she had not felt since before her accident. She arranged herself near the fire, the warmth reaching her hands and easing the stiffness in her fingers. Neighbors greeted her kindly. Some touched her shoulder with gentle affection, though she wished they did not treat her as fragile crystal. She understood their tenderness but preferred to be regarded as whole, not breakable. Elias Turner arrived soon after, wearing a neatly brushed coat that fit him like a statement rather than a necessity. His smile gleamed like copper beneath lamplight as he shook hands and accepted compliments. He excelled at appearing respectable, and he seemed to enjoy the admiration passing around him. When he finally noticed Anna, his expression softened into polite sweetness, but his eyes briefly flicked to her wheels with a hesitation he tried to hide. He approached with warm courtesy, bending just enough to make conversation easier, though the gesture felt rehearsed rather than sincere. He told Anna she looked lovely, and she thanked him with grace. Their conversation flowed gently until he remarked that she must be proud to show strength by attending such a lively event. She smiled, though not fully. She did not want her mere presence to be labeled courage. She wanted simple normalcy. Still, she let his words pass without sharpening them. Anna had become skilled in the art of responding without revealing wounds. She watched families gather, watched young couples steal glances, watched the way the fire made the entire room feel like one long-held breath. Yet deep within her chest lived a faint ache that did not belong to the cold. She felt like a witness to a world she once danced inside, but now viewed from the edge of a circle. She did not envy laughter or flirtation, only the absence of self-consciousness. Then the outer door creaked open, letting in a gust of wind that fluttered the candle flames and sent snowflakes scattering across the floor. All eyes turned to see Tala Red Hawk step inside, tall as a pine trunk, shoulders wide enough to eclipse the entryway. His long hair, braided with leather wraps, shimmered with melting frost. He wore no shirt beneath the buffalo hide coat he carried in one hand, and his skin seemed untouched by December's bite. His presence stirred both quiet awe and quiet unease. The sheriff straightened instinctively, though not with hostility, simply with habit. Elders whispered, children stared with unguarded fascination, and a few men stepped aside as though the air around him needed more room. Tala did not lift his chin or appear offended. He paused only long enough to respect the threshold, then carried several logs toward the hearth, placing them with slow confidence near the woodpile. He did not look for praise, and did not linger where attention gathered. Mrs. Callahan approached him with gentle welcome, offering a seat by the fire, but he shook his head with quiet humility. He preferred to stand, his broad figure blending into the room's periphery rather than entering its center. Anna felt her heart stir when she observed him. She had seen him from afar, yet tonight she witnessed something deeper than strength. She noticed how cautiously he breathed when among settlers, how he moved with deliberate softness, as if trying not to disturb the fragile ease of a room that did not fully trust him. He carried solitude like a cloak, not heavy, but ancient. Many avoided his gaze, though no one could deny the dignity within him. Tala did not request food, did not ask for company, did not impose on a single inch of the hall. He stood not as outsider or threat, but as a man accustomed to belonging nowhere yet harming no one. The subtle nobility in that posture touched Anna. Her pulse beat differently, not with romance or fear, but recognition. Elias noticed the way Anna's eyes drifted toward the tall Apache, and his jaw tightened, though he hid it beneath smooth laughter. He remarked to a neighbor that Tala's presence made the room uneasy, as though it disrupted the holiday spirit. The sheriff overheard and merely scratched his beard, reminding Elias that kindness must mean more than appearances during Christmas. Elias pretended to agree, but the slight irritation lingered. Anna watched Tala move a little farther from the fire, offering space to others. She saw how isolation settled around him like weather. No one invited him to sit. Few greeted him. Yet he showed no resentment, only a stillness born from long experience. She wondered how it felt to carry such self-containment, how many winters he had lived without warmth given freely. Anna looked at the chair beside her, an empty seat near the hearth where a person could rest in quiet conversation, rather than loud festivity. She did not plan it when she wheeled herself into the room, but as she sat there now, she sensed that this seat was waiting for someone whose silence felt familiar, someone who understood what it meant to witness rather than dominate life. She brushed her shawl neatly, and placed her hands softly on the armrests. The empty chair beside her seemed to have meaning, though she could not explain it. She did not save it for a flirtation or admiration. She saved it because she respected the way Tala navigated the world without demanding anything. She saved it because she knew what loneliness sounded like inside the heart. And she saved it because something in her recognized a quiet bond, before a single word had been shared. Tala remained near the wall, scanning the crowd not with suspicion, but with gentle caution. His eyes drifted toward Anna for a moment, and she offered a shy, steady smile. Not bold, not inviting beyond comfort, simply acknowledging his humanity. Tala paused, surprised by the absence of fear or pity in her expression. He noticed the chair beside her, and the way she made room by adjusting her wheels slightly, just enough that he would not feel crowded if he chose to sit. Elias watched the exchange from across the room, unsettled by what he could not define. His pride bristled. He approached Anna again and asked whether she felt safe sitting so close to an Apache should he wander by, though he kept his tone polite enough not to be judged. Anna answered with quiet firmness that safety comes from intention, not bloodline. Elias had no reply, and his silence revealed more than words ever could. The music softened into a slow fiddle piece, and the fire snapped gently like memory cracking open. The empty seat beside Anna felt like a promise. Tala remained still, but something in his posture shifted, as if invisible threads were drawing him toward a place he had never been invited to claim before. And in that moment, Anna realized that this Christmas would not be remembered for decorations or songs, but for the quiet possibility that the loneliest souls in the room had just recognized one another. Tala remained near the far wall as the room drifted into soft celebration, but Anna sensed the pull between his solitude and the chair beside her. She did not wave or beckon. She let stillness become invitation. Candles shimmered across the polished floor, and fiddle notes curled upward like warm smoke. For a moment, the entire hall seemed unaware that something tender was unfolding without noise or spectacle. At last, Tala stepped forward with slow certainty, not as a man seeking welcome, but as one curious about unexpected gentleness. His footsteps were steady, quiet, and each one felt like patience learning how to move toward possibility. People shifted slightly as he passed, though no one said a word. Anna did not look away. Her gaze was calm, offering safety without obligation. When he reached her firelit corner, he paused again, as if giving her one final chance to change her mind. Anna placed her hand on the armrest, opening a small space between her chair and the empty seat. Tala nodded once with a gratitude deeper than politeness and lowered himself slowly. His frame filled the chair completely, knees angled toward the fire, shoulders relaxed for the first time that evening. The room continued its chatter, unaware that the two quietest souls had just claimed a world no larger than 2 seats and the glow of flames. They sat without speaking for several minutes, and Anna felt the peace within the silence. Not uncomfortable, not strained, but shared quiet, a language without need for translation. Tala's breath was slow and warm, his presence steady as a red canyon in evening light. He glanced toward her wheels only once, not with pity but with curiosity, then lifted his eyes again with respectful restraint. Anna appreciated that small mercy. For the first time all night, she felt seen rather than examined. When Tala finally spoke, his voice surprised her. It was low and gentle, like river water moving beneath winter ice. He told her the fire reminded him of long nights in the mountains where warmth earned from labor felt like a blessing, not entitlement. Anna answered softly, saying warmth had always been her favorite part of winter, because it drew strangers into proximity without requiring conversation. Tala smiled, subtle and brief, as if such understanding was rare. Anna shared that she had lived in the settlement since childhood. She spoke of wide prairie mornings, of helping her mother bake bread, of riding horses before her body changed. Tala listened with the attention of someone gathering each word carefully, as though simple memories deserved reverence. She explained her accident only when he asked gently if riding remained part of her life. Anna told him she still cherished horses, but now watched them rather than rode them. She said the hardest part had not been losing movement, but losing the freedom to blend into the world without explanation. Tala studied the fire before responding. He told her he understood the ache of living inside a body the world misunderstood. People judged his silence, his heritage, his scars before hearing a single sentence from him. He had learned to make himself smaller, even though his form could never shrink. He carried kindness cautiously because many interpreted strength as threat. He said the loneliest feeling was knowing that his dignity needed constant defense, even when he wished for nothing except peace. Anna had never heard anyone speak so honestly without bitterness. She felt something inside her relax, a soft recognition that loneliness could feel vast even in a crowd, and that dignity grew roots only in the presence of patient hearts. Tala told her he rarely remained in one settlement long, because trust arrived slower than winter thaw. Sometimes a year passed before a single person invited him into casual conversation. He had learned to expect distance, yet he did not condemn those who kept it. Fear was a slow teacher, and he respected its stubbornness. Anna confessed she once believed being physically limited would diminish her worth, yet she now understood that love and mobility had never shared the same language. She said connection lived inside listening, not walking. Tala nodded with quiet reverence. No one before her had framed life in such terms, and he felt something shift inside him. A small relief, like heavy snow falling from a bowed branch. Elias Turner approached briefly, attempting polite conversation, but his tone carried unease. He asked Anna whether she wished to move nearer other guests, hinting that she might prefer familiar company. Tala did not react, though his eyes darkened slightly. Anna replied that she was comfortable exactly where she sat. Elias forced a smile, then drifted away with disappointment tightening his shoulders. Tala thanked her softly for not letting discomfort tarnish the moment. Anna replied that she valued presence more than approval. The fire crackled louder, and candlelight painted amber halos on Tala's skin. Anna noticed a faint scar along his collarbone, a mark that hinted at hardship yet did not demand explanation. She asked about family only when the silence welcomed gentleness. Tala said he once had brothers and cousins with whom he hunted and whispered stories to the stars. A sickness had taken several, and the rest scattered across distant territories seeking safety. Homes dissolve quickly when grief arrives without rest. He had found solace in the wilderness but little belonging. Anna did not offer pity. She offered stillness, and Tala felt gratitude so strong it softened his spine. He admitted that winter nights could feel like entire years, when a man had no one to share them with. Anna told him loneliness sometimes sounded like wind pressing against every wall of the heart, not asking entry, simply reminding one of absence. Tala turned toward her, studying the way lamplight shimmered in her eyes, and said her words made solitude feel less barren. Their conversation drifted through memory and meaning. Neither flirted, Neither claimed expectation. Their exchange felt like two lanterns discovering they could illuminate more fully when placed side by side rather than alone. Anna realized she had not felt this calm with anyone since before her accident. Tala realized he had never felt this recognized in any settlement, not even his own. As the hour deepened, the hall grew quieter, and children fell asleep against their parents. Only a handful of neighbors remained near the hearth, their laughter softened by embers. Tala leaned back slightly, his body settling as though belonging no longer required explanation. Anna felt warmth spreading through her chest. Not romance, not infatuation, simply relief that human connection could exist without pretense. When Tala finally rose, he thanked her for offering a seat when most offered distance. Anna whispered that the chair had been waiting, before she even understood why. Tala paused, eyes shining with something fragile and new, and then stepped outside into the falling snow. Anna watched him disappear beyond lantern light, feeling the room suddenly emptier, as though the fire itself had followed him. And in that silence, she understood the chair would never feel empty again until he returned. Morning settled over the settlement with a dim silver sky, and snow rested like a quiet blanket over every fence post, wagon wheel, and frozen stream. Anna awoke with a feeling that something gentle had shifted inside her, though she could not name it. She remembered sharing silence with Tala beside the fire, remembered the ease of their conversation, and the depth of listening that had required no grand effort. She wheeled herself toward the window, hoping to glimpse him gathering wood or walking toward the river. The world outside remained still, but faint footprints led toward the northern forest, wide and solitary. She spent the day near her hearth, replaying small moments she had seldom experienced before. The sensation of being understood without having to perform courage, the rare comfort of speaking without apology. The way Tala's presence felt less like an interruption, and more like a calm the room did not know it needed. Her mind carried these thoughts carefully, like a candle flame protected from wind. By afternoon, word of the Christmas gathering had spread through town like winter gossip. Some praised the warmth of the evening. Others whispered uncertainly about Anna sitting beside an Apache. No one confronted her directly until Elias Turner arrived at her cabin. Snow dusted on his boots and brows. His knock was polite but tight, and Anna sensed trouble before she opened the door. He stepped inside without waiting for full invitation, his tone laced with concern he hoped might appear noble. Elias began by saying he worried about her reputation, that townspeople had wondered why she spent the evening in such close proximity to a man many did not trust. Anna listened patiently, though she could feel tension building in her spine. Elias insisted that she must think of how others perceived her, especially because vulnerability made her more dependent on the good opinion of neighbors. Anna replied with a steady voice that her dignity did not require permission, and closeness should never be measured by social comfort. Elias flushed slightly, and used to her firmness. He said he respected kindness but warned that the settlement preferred clear boundaries between outsiders and community. Anna breathed slowly, choosing calm over fire. She reminded him that fear had no manners, and prejudice rarely admitted ignorance. Elias stiffened, telling her he admired her empathy, but wished she would consider consequences before welcoming unfamiliar company. Anna thanked him for his concern yet clarified that she would not allow loneliness to dictate her associations. She asked him whether kindness should be offered only to those who resembled mirrors. Elias faltered, unable to answer without revealing his own narrowness. He left with a cordial farewell, though unease shadowed his expression. After the door closed, Anna exhaled deeply. She did not seek argument, yet she knew truth required steadiness. Her thoughts drifted toward Tala, wondering whether he had already sensed murmurs. His sensitivity to the silent judgments of settlers seemed finely tuned. She understood how exhausting it could be when every gesture risked misunderstanding. Later that evening, Sheriff O'Connor visited her to check her firewood supply. His conversation moved gently, without interrogation or instruction. When Anna mentioned Elias's concerns, the sheriff chuckled softly, and said fear traveled faster than horses but held less endurance. He assured her that Tala had harmed no one, and avoiding him because of caution felt like wasting the season's message. Anna appreciated his perspective deeply. though his reassurance could not fully erase the knowledge that opinions in small settlements behaved like persistent frost. After the sheriff departed, Anna watched falling snow from her window and imagined Tala walking through the trees, carrying solitude like a familiar companion. She sensed he might already have decided to leave before conflict grew heavy. The thought carved a hollow place inside her, not from romantic longing, but from the grief of seeing a fragile connection threatened by voices that had not listened long enough. 2 days passed quietly. No one saw Tala near town, though it still appeared on doorsteps as though invisible hands kept fires fed. Anna wondered if he waited for the right moment to say farewell, or if departures had always been easier without explanation. She rolled near the fire each evening, letting silence keep her company. She remembered the chair beside her during the Christmas gathering, remembered how its emptiness had transformed once he sat. She felt that emptiness again, not painful, but undeniable. On the third morning, Anna spotted Tala from her window, moving toward the settlement to deliver wood. His steps were slower, and his expression held a calm resignation. She wrapped her shawl tightly and moved outside to speak with him. Snowflakes fell like quiet feathers, and Tala greeted her with respectful warmth. He thanked her for the evening they shared, then paused as though searching for careful words. Anna felt foreboding in the way his eyes drifted toward the road rather than the cabin. He told her he planned to leave after nightfall, not because he felt unwelcome by her, but because whispers had grown louder around town. He did not wish her reputation to suffer for extending her chair, and he would rather vanish than become the reason for her discomfort or trouble. His voice remained composed, but Anna heard sorrow beneath every syllable. He explained that leaving had become a familiar act, like folding a blanket after silence overstayed its welcome. Anna reached for steadiness and asked whether departure would grant him peace, or simply protect others from their own misguided certainty. Tala replied that dignity demanded he prevent unnecessary harm, even if his presence harmed no one in spirit. Anna understood his reasoning more clearly than she wished to. She admired the humility in his decision, while grieving the ease with which prejudice stole belonging. She gathered her strength and told him that loneliness should not be rewarded with exile. Tala lowered his gaze, saying he had long accepted that connection was a rare gift he must never force. He would carry the memory of their conversation, as one carries a cherished fire in winter. Anna felt her throat tighten, and she told him his presence had made her feel wholly human again, not a burden to be admired or pitied. Tala absorbed her words as though they were unexpected warmth. A quiet moment passed between them, filled with unspoken ache and reverence. Snow settled on Tala's hair like white silk strands, and his breath clouded gently between them. He promised that her kindness would never be forgotten, though he did not intend to change his plans. Anna whispered that the settlement had lost something it did not yet understand. Tala nodded softly, preparing to continue toward the forest. But before he turned away, Sheriff O'Connor approached from the road, breath frosted and stride determined, carrying news that would disrupt the resignation in Tala's eyes and reopen a door neither expected to find waiting. Snow thickened across the settlement as Christmas night arrived, soft as breath and bright as forgiveness. Lanterns glowed behind frosted windows like golden embers trapped inside glass. The wind hummed against rooftops with a steady rhythm, neither harsh nor hurried, as if winter itself wished to witness whatever unfolded beneath its silent veil. Anna sat near her hearth, unable to ignore the emptiness that filled the room more loudly than the crackling fire. Tala's plan to leave hovered over her like a fading candle, its final flicker near. Sheriff O'Connor had visited briefly that afternoon, telling Anna that Tala had departed toward the northern ridge before twilight. The sheriff pressed her hand with gentle urgency, insisting she should not carry regret like a burden. He offered to escort her if she wished to speak with Tala before the road disappeared into deeper snow. Anna wasted no time. She gathered her shawl, tucked her legs beneath a wool blanket, and let the sheriff guide her to a wagon warmed by quilts and spirited by a dependable mule. The journey unfolded beneath a silver moon, the path winding like a quiet promise through whispering trees. The wheels moved steadily over frozen ground, and every mile felt like a question she had never answered until now. She realized she did not want Tala to vanish, as though their connection were simply a kind spark extinguished by fear. She needed him to understand that the chair she saved had not been a momentary kindness, It had been instinct, recognition, belonging. The sheriff said nothing as he drove, giving her space to feel the weight of purpose. Snowflakes swirled like drifting prayers around them. When they reached the northern ridge, lantern light faded behind them, and the forest became a cathedral of shadow and silver. The wagon stopped, and the sheriff pointed toward a distant shape moving between the trees. Tala walked with a heavy bag slung across his back, each step resolute yet unbearably calm, as if he had already accepted absence as his closest companion. Anna asked the sheriff to call out, for her voice could not yet carry far enough. The sheriff shouted Tala's name, and the tall figure paused, shoulders lifting slightly beneath the falling snow. Tala turned slowly, perhaps expecting trouble, but finding instead a wagon, with a familiar silhouette wrapped in blankets. He approached, breath clouding like soft steam, footsteps deliberate. Anna leaned forward, heart trembling beneath the layers of shawl. She told Sheriff O'Connor she wished to speak privately, and he nodded, stepping back just enough to let the forest cradle their conversation. Tala knelt beside her, lowering his massive frame until his eyes met hers with steady calm. Snowflakes rested on his braids like tiny silver beads, and his skin glowed faintly in the moonlight. Anna whispered that she wished he had not left before they could speak plainly. Tala apologized, saying he did not want her reputation to suffer for offering friendship. He said leaving felt easier than defending something the world had not yet learned to understand. Anna held his gaze with unshaken courage. She told him reputation meant little without belonging, and belonging could not be granted by fear. She said the chair she saved had come from the truest part of her heart, not from charity or rebellion. Tala's breath caught softly, as though hearing something he had never been offered with such clarity. She admitted she had grown accustomed to living with distance, to accepting gentle pity wrapped as kindness, to enduring silence without echo. But Tala had changed that silence. He had shown her that presence could feel honest without demand. A quietness settled between them, filled with threads of longing neither had spoken. Tala reached out, not for her hands but for her truth. He told her that from the moment she adjusted her chair and made space without fear, something inside him had softened. He said he felt, for the first time in many winters, that he could breathe without explaining himself. He confessed that he had admired her strength long before she knew his name, and that dignity radiated from her more brightly than any fire. Anna's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. She said she could live without many comforts, but she did not wish to lose someone who made her feel fully seen. Tala's expression broke open with vulnerability, rarely shown by giants or wanderers. He told her he loved her, not with urgency or performance, but with the slow certainty that had grown over every shared word and silence. He said love had arrived not like a flame but like steady warmth, impossible to ignore and undeserving of disappearance. The snow around them seemed to pause, letting the forest become witness. Anna reached for his hand, small and pale against his broad palm. She whispered that love did not require legs or approval, only presence, honesty, and tenderness. She told him she had never expected romance again, yet she found herself drawn toward him with quiet devotion. She confessed she loved him too, not as sudden enchantment but as recognition, like hearing her own heartbeat echoed in another chest. Tala bowed his head, forehead touching her knuckles with reverence. He asked if she wished him to stay, not for duty but for choice. Anna told him she wished for companionship, for a home where words and silence could rest side by side, for fires built without fear and shared evenings without apology. She asked if he could bear the whispers without letting them steal his peace. Tala lifted his head and smiled, saying whispers had shadowed him his whole life. He would rather endure them with belonging than wander without connection. Sheriff O'Connor watched from a respectful distance, a soft grin hidden beneath his mustache. He offered to escort them back to town before night deepened. Tala gathered Anna's blankets, lifted her gently into the wagon's seat with the ease of a man placing treasure into safekeeping, and sat beside her for the journey back. The road felt shorter, as though destiny had smoothed the terrain. When they reached the settlement, lanterns glowed from cabin windows as if celebrating an unseen miracle. Tala walked Anna to her door, promising to stay near the settlement until spring, promising to build a small home close enough that kindness would never again require distance. Before parting, Anna whispered that she would save that same chair every Christmas night, forever if needed. Tala answered that as long as breath remained in him, he would sit beside her wherever she made room. Snow drifted like blessings through the firelit dark, and the night felt entirely full.